Alright, now before you all rip out my throat, let me just explain. Does Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers actually hate women? Probably not. Well, actually, I don't know. I mean, if we asked him, he'd probably say that he absolutely loves women. But we all know what he's really talking about. No, he may not hate women, but something he does hate is people trying to empower women through pop culture. And that's what we'll be talking about today. Now you may be wondering why I'm talking about Geeks and Gamers again, since I literally just made a video on him. Well, it's because I didn't really get to say everything I wanted to say about him in that video. Unlike Brie Larson, who has been milked to hell for absolutely no reason at all. There's actually a lot to talk about with regards to Jeremy. And since you guys really liked that video and told me that you wanted more, how could I refuse? Last time we explored the hypocritical nature of his arguments when it comes to SJWs and his disregard for social issues, and today we're talking about women. But don't worry boys, this video won't be just politics. There's quite a bit of it, but it's simple to understand, and I'm also talking about these issues in relation to franchises like Marvel and Star Wars, so it's still fun. I promise. Also, just a disclaimer, I have a problem with his content, but if you like it, then please don't take this as a personal attack towards you. If you disagree with anything I say, then write me a comment down below with your arguments. I'll be reading every single one of them and I'll try to get back to you. Just know that at the end of the day, this is a video for entertainment and educational purposes, and Jeremy might be an alright person behind this reactionary facade. I don't know him, and I don't claim to know him. I've spent a lot of time and research writing the script, but naturally I might have missed something. So if I say anything wrong, tell me down in the comments. But anyways, this is part 2 of why I believe Geeks and Gamers is toxic within pop culture. So we have 2 main events today, and we'll get into the big one later, but we'll be starting off with his video titled Indiana Jones and the Respect for Women, which you already just know is going to be god-awful based on that title. Basically, he talks about how Phoebe Waller-Bridge is set to co-star alongside Harrison Ford in the next Indiana Jones movie, which to most people is just an announcement that makes them say, alright, cool, I'm excited, because come on. Harrison Ford is a bit too old for his previous Indiana Jones shenanigans, and a younger actor is needed for this movie, since it's an action movie. But no, that's not what Jeremy is thinking. He's absolutely seething at the fact that a woman has the audacity to act alongside the legend himself, Harrison Ford. He's already blaming Lucasfilm and Disney and feminism, but I don't know what he's blaming them for, and neither does he. What he says here just makes absolutely no sense.
Look at that headline right there. Indiana Jones 5. Phoebe Waller-Bridge lands female lead in next installment opposite Harrison Ford. We all know what that means. We all know exactly what that means, and we know how she's going to be portrayed and how she's going to treat Harrison Ford and how he's going to be the stupid man who makes all the mistakes, and she's going to be the heroic female that saves the day and has all of the answers and knows everything and beats everybody up. That's what this is going to be.
What the fuck? How do we know that? The movie hasn't even come out yet. Are you just assuming that's how it's going to be based on other movies you've watched? Have you perhaps seen that character dynamic in a movie before? Well, let me see. It can't be The Last Jedi, because in that movie, Luke Skywalker is not some stupid man who makes mistakes all the time. He made one mistake, while Rey made multiple mistakes and didn't really know much. And she even got clowned for it by Luke, who was pretty badass through the movie. So it can't be The Last Jedi. Oh, maybe you're talking about The Force Awakens, the other movie with Harrison Ford in it. The one where at one point, Rey says the same thing as him. Oh yes, cause that made him look like a stupid old man, even though beforehand, Han was always just a stupid man. A badass one at that, but still dumb, who's just now older. Listen, it could be some other movie he's talking about, but I just assumed that these are the examples he'd use. Oh, look at me, I can assume things too. Doesn't mean it's true, does it? Listen, you could have some good examples of this happening before, but the truth of the matter is that you have absolutely no idea that this is how Indiana Jones 5 is going to be. You just don't like Lucasfilm because apparently all they do is pander to people, which is not at all what you're doing. And this mentality of already shitting on the movie before it even comes out, just because someone wrote female in the title of a random article, shows just how much you let your bias breed your hate.
Let me be clear, because obviously with the people that don't like me will react to the headline, my thumbnail, and they're gonna be like, Jeremy doesn't like women, and he's...
That's exactly what I'm thinking. Now, I don't think you hate women per se. I just think you're either afraid of women, ignorant to sexism and misogyny that's existed throughout time, or you don't like the idea of women being empowered, or all of the above.
I've been recently watching a lot of anime, and anime has a lot of strong female characters that are respectable, and you like them.
You use anime as a good example of well-written female characters, even though anime as an industry is very male-dominated, just like Hollywood. Yes, there are the occasional strong female characters, but a lot of the time, the male characters completely overshadow the female characters, and the women are often used for fan service in order to appeal to male viewers. Even the badass female characters are often over-sexualized. Listen, Jeremy, you don't need to tell us. We all know why you like anime. But basically, for this next part, he talks about how he's not angry at the fact that they've cast Phoebe Waller-Bridge, but rather the reasons behind it. Essentially, Hollywood is compromising stories nowadays by saying that men are bad and women are good, even though that's not at all what's happening here. All they've done in this article is write female lead. Jeremy here gets pissed off at the word female. He says everything in this title is good except for the word female. And because of that word that has no actual impact on him, but it's actually quite cool to see for a lot of people, he suddenly hates this movie without even giving it a chance. Let me say that again. He'd be completely on board with this movie if the word female had been removed from this article, because apparently the word female means that he as a man is being discriminated against. Fucking pop off, Jeremy.
But when you present someone as their gender or their race upon the announcement, you are telling anyone with a working brain that you are focused on all the wrong things.
As a fellow man, it's always funny to see another man who has absolutely no idea how privileged his gender makes him. Let me be clear, being a man does not automatically make you a bad person, or anything of that matter. But the fact is that women have always been oppressed compared to men. If the gender roles in society had been switched, then you'd be complaining about your underrepresentation and discrimination. And you'd be right, but that's not how it is. Just saying.
And, you know, this could be a well-written character, and it could be a character that's done for the right reasons. But Lucasfilm has already shown us with The Force is female, with Rey Skywalker, with Kelly Marie Tran, and everything they did with Rose Tico.
Ah, there you have it. He used the Star Wars sequels as examples of female pandering. I knew it. Now, I've talked multiple times on this channel about Rey's character, and if you just remove your bias, then you'll see that she's a well-written character, or at least not worthy of the hate she gets. I don't know what else to say. And the problem with Rose Tico is not that she's a woman. Her character is not as bad as many people make it out to be. And her flaws come from her confusing role in the story, which knock knock, look at Poe and Finn in the third one. Is the Rise of Skywalker horrible because of the male pandering? Should I be nervous about Indiana Jones 5 because of this toxic masculinity? Jeremy's mind amazes me sometimes. Also, it makes absolutely no sense to blame badly written female characters on feminism and so-called SJW agenda and not on, I don't know, bad writing? I need a fucking cup of coffee to get through this. And I don't even drink coffee.
So, if you're upset at me talking about this, then you should be upset with Hollywood, because Hollywood continues to destroy franchises with identity politics.
Like I said in my last video, big companies and organizations are not what I'm defending. Hollywood gains off of capitalism just like the rest of them, but at least they're promoting good messages that actually could have some positive effects. They'll be making a shit ton of money either way, so at least they're doing something good too, even if they don't care about the good thing they're doing. But go on, Jeremy. Call capitalism bad and I'll forgive you. I know you don't want to, because your problem goes way deeper than capitalism. Because if you actually did care about women, then you wouldn't write "whammon" in your title. That's you pandering to the opposite demographic of the people who the writer of this article is pandering to. And according to you, Pandering is a sin. This is a social message. You're all about your social message. You've made a career off of pandering. It's fucking hypocritical. Also, I love reading his comments because they're always pure gold. And yes, a lot of them for this video are saying that they already had a great strong female lead in Karen Allen. But listen people, Karen Allen is 69 years old, which is not the prime age for being the lead in an action movie. She'll most likely still be in the movie since her and Indy are married, but she just won't have that same action heroine role to play. Can there only be one female character nowadays? Just like how male teachers get distracted by girls' shoulders, geeky men just can't handle multiple women being in movies because it distracts us from following along. And no, it's not because of their skin or massive jugs. No. We want that. That doesn't distract us at all. No, we just can't handle when there are multiple female characters with good writing. Any more than one and the character is guaranteed to be poorly written. You see, one well-written female character plus another equals a poorly written female character. It's PEMDAS bitch. That's law. So yes, Karen Allen is fine. Put her in some booty shorts and send her swinging through a valley. That's all we need out of this movie. Is my impression of Geeks and Gamers good? Did I do a good job? No, but when you look up the project on Google, it becomes so apparent why Jeremy has a problem with this movie before it's even out. Kathleen Kennedy is producing it. The ultimate evil woman. Oh, so I realized that Jeremy uploaded a video a couple days ago about Indiana Jones 5 and James Mangold going off on conservatives on Twitter, but I watched it and there's really not much to talk about. And since I already finished the script, I'll just leave it alone. It's basically just a very confusing video where Jeremy defends himself and his fans and also randomly defends Gina Carano and then also shits on Disney and left-wing pandering idiots. And then Jeremy admits to us that he's part of the Trump fandom. It's just a very quintessentially right-wing inspired video, which I really don't want to talk about because remember, the point of this video is not necessarily to call out people who lean right, it's about exposing a man who takes advantage of angry extremist conservatives to make money, and at the same time, he's fueling hatred towards women and other social groups. Remember, both sides have extremists. So yes, I don't need to talk about this video, so let's just move on. However, now we get to the kryptonite of reactionary hate channels on YouTube. We'll be talking about the person who has collected all three holy sins of life. Number 1, being a woman. Number 2, occasionally talking about feminism. And 3, being an icon within pop culture. I'm of course talking about the one and only Brie Larson. Now if you for some reason don't know about the hate train towards Brie Larson, then just search her up on YouTube and brace yourself. It's insane. Now most of these people's problems with Brie Larson comes from her role as Captain Marvel. One such problem is the fact that Captain Marvel was originally a man in the comics, but was then gender swapped for the movie to pander to the women. Now this is all bullshit. Yes, the original character was called Marvel and he was a man, but Carol Danvers was still a character back then and has been a prominent one of that throughout most of the comics. She even takes on the name Captain Marvel later on in the comics, and is still her name today. It wasn't a random ass gender swap just for the movies, and even if it was, that would still be okay. Captain Marvel's gender doesn't affect the quality of the story, and before this movie there were 20 MCU movies all with male protagonists. But then finally, Captain Marvel was announced. And reactionaries everywhere were calling it feminism against men, or even misandry. Fucking idiots. Let me explain something to you. Firstly, Captain Marvel's gender and the fact that the original character was once male doesn't matter to the story. Secondly, it was time for the MCU to introduce a badass female superhero who's the star of her own movie. One that girls could look up to, be inspired, and see themselves as. And thirdly, Captain Marvel has been a woman for the majority of the comics, even though the origins of the character were male. There you go. 3 reasons why anyone who battered Brie Larson as Captain Marvel for being misandrist and SJW can scurry off to whatever fucking rabbit hole they came from. It has nothing to do with SJWs and has everything to do with you just being a weirdo. Another reason for people hating on Captain Marvel is the fact that the movie made over $1 billion, which according to some people is an inflated number. They just don't understand how this movie could possibly make money, because they and their friends didn't like it. So who did? I personally saw it in theaters twice, with 2 separate groups of friends, so it isn't far-fetched that people actually watch this movie.
But look at the dislikes on Brie Larson's YouTube channel. That means Captain Marvel didn't make money.
Yes, that's right. This actually became a conspiracy theory. People just can't handle the fact that this movie didn't flop. But yes, we're looking at Geeks and Gamers today, and he has so many fucking videos on Brie Larson. Like, just look at this. This is almost as much as Mike Zero, and that's saying something. But anyways, I watched a lot of Jeremy's Brie Larson videos, way too many of them for my own liking, and since I can't show all of them to you, I've chosen this one to give you a good example of Jeremy's deep hatred for her. This one is called The Arrogance of Brie Larson, How Feminism Ruined Her. Now this is essentially just Jeremy reacting to a video by Charisma on Command about Brie Larson and how the way she conducts herself in interviews makes some people dislike her. And there's nothing wrong with that video. It's a nicely detailed video about how sarcasm without the right physical mannerisms can make people take what you're saying as being arrogant. Yes, there are maybe some undertones of sexism there, since arrogance and sarcasm is often seen as admirable and charming in men, for example Robert Downey Jr., but then seems wrong in women. However, the problem here is not with the original video, it's with Jeremy's weird take on it. He claims that all this is because of feminism, because feminism is the scariest thing in the world for him. Listen, this is my take, and you can disagree if you want, but I believe everyone should be a feminist. Because feminism means that women should be equal to men, which if you're against makes absolutely no sense. Our societal foundations are built from patriarchy, and women still, to this day, do not have the same privileges that men have. And a lot of the time, you have to look under the surface to see these problems. A lot of people who are against feminism explain that it's because feminists want dominion over men, which is just not true. Every social movement has extremists who want the complete opposite of what the actual movement is about. These very vocal minorities are the ones that often get the spotlight from the media, and therefore they give these movements a bad name. Feminism is not about women over men, it's about equality and equity, and no matter your political views, you should give a crap about this. Most of the women in your life probably have felt the effects of gender inequality. Ask them. I'm sure they have a story for you. All women have a story for you. As a man, I feel it's my duty to be a feminist, because it doesn't make me any less man and it doesn't take away my rights and privileges as a man, but it does help towards women getting those same rights and privileges. Feminism doesn't mean that we have had less struggles in life than women just because we're men. It just means that those struggles, a lot of the time, did not come because of our gender. Any man who doesn't believe that women should be equal to men really needs to take a deep look at themselves. But yes, enough about feminism, back to the video. So Jeremy focuses on the Wired interview Brie Larson did in relation to Captain Marvel, which is an interview I've watched and it's honestly not that bad. She may not be the most charismatic person in the world, but is still entertaining depending on who you are. Plus, a person shouldn't have to be charismatic to earn your respect and human decency. Some people are introverted and socially awkward, which Brie has actually talked about before, and that's okay. I definitely see how she could come off as a bit arrogant, but a lot of people act like this normally. Jeremy gives an example of how Brie Larson used to be, and it's this clip from an interview with Craig Ferguson. Let me show you.
That's a lovely name, Brie. Is that really are you named after a cheese?
Yes, I am.
Really? Really?
I'm named after a cheese. I get confused all the time. I walk into rooms and people are like, ah!
Oh, we
I
went
didn't know it was going to be a human. I thought it was going to be a cheese.
No.
Jeremy thinks this is how women should act if they're trying to be funny or sarcastic, and that what she is now is just an agenda-driven person lost in her feminist ideology and victimhood ideology. It's just funny to me that Jeremy feels intimidated by a woman who's acting a bit cocky in an interview, and simultaneously he thinks that the female ideal is being overly chipper with a high-pitched voice and over-the-top hand gestures. He thinks that this is charismatic, which is fine. That's the personality he wants to be around, We're all different. But then he says that this newer version of Brie Larson deserves no sympathy because she is apparently anti-man. This whole video is just unnecessary anti-feminism, even though her social views should have absolutely nothing to do with any of this. I can almost bet my horse that she was a feminist back then too, because she's been advocating for women's rights for years. And also, you don't take into account that these two interviews are over a decade apart. People change a lot in 10 years. Brie Larson is 31 years old, which means she was like 20 when this interview came out. That's like me now. I pray to God that I'm not the same person both physically and emotionally in 10 years that I am now. The original video from Charisma on Command is a well-made video analyzing some of Brie Larson's body language and personality, but it's Jeremy who for some reason brought feminism into it. Just because a woman doesn't act like the traditional woman, which knock knock, many women nowadays don't do, that doesn't mean that she is ruined by feminism. Feminism has given women an opportunity to have the personalities that they want without other people, especially men, being able to control that for them. You dragging the word feminism through the mud is dangerous, because you're signaling to thousands and thousands of people out there that feminism is bad and that it will ruin you and your personality, which is such a toxic mindset. The only valid argument that can be used against Brie Larson is that she's a little bit cringe. And if you think that she's cringy, then make a video laughing at some of these funny moments. And then that's it. Maybe a follow-up video if the first one does well. Everyone is cringy sometimes, and she shouldn't be vilified for that. So yes, after making that video, or maybe two, then you don't need to talk about Brie Larson anymore, because the fact that she's a feminist has nothing to do with any of this. But of course, I know talking shit about feminism and SJWs gets you so much more attention from misogynistic and extremist conservatives. Not even the normal right-leaning people like your content. They're ashamed of reactionaries like you who use vague and unsupported arguments to shit on social issues because it gets you views. Every YouTuber uses clickbait to get views, but only scummy YouTubers use toxic clickbait to get views. That's you, Jeremy. Jesus fuck, I wasn't planning on getting so worked up. But I guess that's what I get for watching this man's video for 3 days straight. But that's the thing, I torture myself on this channel so you don't have to. Hours of Geeks and Gamers content turn into a 20-minute video. You're welcome. Now, Jeremy obviously doesn't seem to spend a lot of time or thoughts making his videos, and he doesn't need to. I know, and he knows, that his fans are so far gone that me and the many other YouTubers who have already made videos on Jeremy can't touch him whatsoever. We can only convince our own fans, but any criticism that comes his way will be brushed off by his viewers. So yeah, I don't think this video will help much with calling out Geeks and Gamers, but I hope you at least enjoyed it and learned a bit about how you can pick up on toxic traits used on YouTube, because there's a lot of it. But yes, as always, leave your comments down below and don't be afraid to tell me if you think I'm wrong. I'll hopefully take a short break from politics, and next video we'll go back to talking about the sequels. Yay! So look forward to that. Until then, I hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe and peace out.